Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Wire to Wire. Something a little different for you here. Christina Blacker and the Sarge Nick Hines coming to you live from the Seaside Oval at Del Mar, where summer racing is in full swing, not only here, but of course Saratoga, one of the best times of the year.
No, absolutely. Outside of maybe the month of December, the most wonderful time of the year, right here at the Seaside Oval. Christina, great to be back here on Wire to Wire. The beat goes on here with My Racehorse. It's been a tremendous past couple of months, and certainly look forward to what the future holds.
Yeah, with those weeks behind us, we have quite a few wins to catch up on. Hopefully you enjoy reliving these victories just as much as we do. I know anytime you win any race, you want to go back and watch it over and over and over again. So let's start off with 63 Caliber, the daughter of Gunrunner. Make it back-to-back wins for this filly. A recent fourth-place effort against stakes competition, but that all-important graduation from maiden special weights to allowance runners.
Owned in a partnership with Spendthrift, earning a 68 Buyer speed figure. Part of the Future Stars, 600 partners, and certainly a gutsy effort here. And she's become kind of a house favorite, if you will. Of course, our CEO and founder, Michael Behrens, has put her, if not on the top of the list, near the top of the list. Came back to finish fourth in the Indiana Oaks. I thought a better than looked effort, considering it was a quick turnaround. But all in all, nice training job here by trainer Tom Amos.
He's had quite a few wins for My Racehorse in the last couple of months. From 63 Caliber, we move ahead to Carpe Venom, a career best 2 races back. We want to highlight that victory for her. This was on June the 17th up at Santa Anita against Allowance Optional Claiming Company. She'll pull clear by 2 1/4 under Ramon Vasquez.
Yeah, beautiful handling here under Ramon, and Carpe Venom, who's now earned in excess of $180,000. She came home willingly here, earned an 88 Buyer speed figure in a partnership with Joey Platts. She is certainly one of the originals, purchased a 2-year-old in training. She came back to finish 5th in the Osanitas, and yet again, a better than looked effort in stakes company.
We've always talked about her as just being so consistent. She runs so often. She definitely gives you that bang for your buck in terms of being out there and being a part of the action so often, and she tries hard each and every time. Frosted Oats, we're going to talk quite a bit about this filly throughout the show today, but we do want to highlight the victory for her at Belmont back on June the 24th. For the Hall of Famer Bill Mott, she'll be clear by just a head here. A hard-fought win. Sarge, she's always shown ability, was knocking at the door, finally gets that win in that last race.
Well, she's only been off the board in 1 try. This was especially nice, considering it was her second start back off of a respite. She is a fan favorite. 1,500 partners involved in that partnership with Spendthrift. $250,000 yearling by Frosted out of the Smart Strike mare. More Oats, please. Yet again, another 3-year-old developing and transitioning nicely in the midst of this season. So we look forward to her next step at Saratoga.
So important to see them take those steps from 2 to 3, from 3 to 4 to continue to progress. Always Hopeful is our next winner to recap. And this is a horse that at first asking was a little bit disappointing. Caught a sloppy track. Clearly something, a bit of an excuse on that occasion, but came back in a big way over a fast track at Indy.
Well, coming back fresh legs for Cherie DeVoe. Congratulations. Going out to the partnerships includes David Ingordo, the Manganaro Bloodstock, and Peter Hadelman. And 515 partners involved here with a victory at Horseshoe, Indianapolis. Earned a 72 Buyer speed figure under the George Wolf Award recipient Deshaun Parker. It was especially nice to see as he earned a milestone of late as well. But always hopeful. By Spitestown, certainly a horse that should appreciate some more seasoning. Just the second career start.
6,000 victories back in June for Deshaun Parker. We will hear from him a little bit later on the program, so stay tuned for that. Tepu, another winner, not just for My Racehorse, but for Edge Racing. Brendan Walsh has this horse. He is a son of Tappet. And not only did he win, but he won by 7.5 lengths, pulling clear from this field at Churchill Downs.
Yeah, 5th start, the charm. Props going out to racing manager Joe Moran. Earned an 80 Buyer speed figure. And got to give credit where credit is due. Brendan Walsh has stayed the faith with Tepu, as mentioned, the son of Tappet. And this horse purchases a 2-year-old in training. In the midst of his 3-year-old year, you have to appreciate the development here, stepping onward and upward. He is pointing for a race mid-August at Churchill, potentially looking at the Ellis Park Derby.
We talked to Kent Sweezy on the program back in May and June. He had a win with Carruthers that we want to recap July the 17th. This is a horse that got to compete back over synthetic in his last few starts overseas, but prior to coming here to the States, he definitely had some strong synthetic form. It looks to be his preferred surface.
Well, note that he's sporting the winkers, or the cheek pieces, or the cheek pieces, if you will, here. And it was kind of a tribute, as this has been something you see often in the Southern Hemisphere. But 3 for 3, all victories over the synthetic track. He earned a 91 Beyer speed figure, 920 partners involved in Carruthers. This was one of those wins that was a big relief. He'd been gelded a few races back, but major props going out to Kent Sweezy. His team doing a wonderful job getting Carruthers to step his game up, now being pointed to the Grade 3 Seagram Cup north of the border at Woodbine.
He's always one of those Carruthers, this horse that has looked good, looked the part. Nice to see him put it all together and get that win. Can't Hush This found his friends for Tom Amoss in that last start. A victory on July the 24th. This by 3/4 of a length as the post-time favorite. Gildeson of Not This Time drops in for a tag and gets the win.
Now, part of the Future Stars, 1,060 partners involved with his victory at Ellis Park. He earned a career best 77 Beyer speed figure. They say the best hop is the drop, certainly paying dividends, and claimed away. But Can't Hush This, as you mentioned, found his friends, and another nice training job by Tom Amoss here as Can't Hush This earning that cap and gown.
So important to find that level, find where they fit. We wish Can't Hush This well with the new connections, and of course we'll be following along with the progression with Can't Hush This. Straight No Chaser. I've been excited to not only talk about this horse, but to recap the victory. It was right here at Del Mar behind us over the opening weekend on July the 24th. A victory by 2 1/4 lengths and a gate-to-wire score, Sarge.
Well, you had to appreciate the effort here from this son of a Speedster. Patient handling by trainer Dan Blacker, who did a wonderful job. Props to Andrew Lerner, who had initially had this horse and offered up and saying, you perhaps want to give this horse some time, paying dividends, earned an 85 Beyer speed figure out of the mare Margarita Friday, aptly named Straight No Chaser. That's certainly an exciting effort, and one that we look forward to the development of this young 3-year-old.
Speaking of, Dan Blacker is here to join us to talk about the win from Straight No Chaser, one of the advantages to having the show right here at Del Mar. Dan, thanks for taking some time. We know it's busy every morning.
You're welcome. Nice to be here.
It's been a long time since I've interviewed Dan. We have this inside joke, and I'll just reveal it now. I don't think I've talked to him since his first win when he first started training.
No kidding.
Yeah, Hollywood Park, Hameldame. Christina interviewed me, and this is the first one since then, 10 years.
I don't want to play favorites.
I feel so honored. It's a special moment. Again, I don't want to break up the party here, but Dan, congratulations on a job well done with Straight No Chaser. And I know that this horse had indicated and kind of tipped you off a little bit in the mornings. And as a handicapper, as a horseman, I know how difficult it is to have a horse ready to fire first out. But in the case of Straight No Chaser, knowing that you don't necessarily load up the wagons for a debut, what tipped you off with this horse?
He's just naturally very fast. And right from his first few workouts, I told Joe Moran, I said, this could be a horse that could win first time out, so I want to get him ready to do that. And like every work, he just kept showing that speed, showing that natural ability. And as we got a bit closer, I got a bit more confident. And I'm just thankful to have such a fast horse in my barn.
Can you talk a little bit about the journey and the progression? Because we talk on this show every month just about patience and how patience really pays off. And you mentioned Andrew Lerner had him to begin with. For the folks that bought in early on, they were very patient. They were rewarded a couple of weeks ago. But just about the journey with him to this point.
Sure. My good friend Andrew Lerner had the foresight to see that this horse he was not mature enough to push on and be a racehorse at that stage as a 2-year-old, and gave him some time. And thankfully those issues are resolved, and he's came into me. He had a mild issue in his hind end in the winter. We gave him a little more time, but kept him at the barn, let him progress and mature in his own way. And since then he's just worked on a very regular basis and been very straightforward, so I'm excited about him.
Now, coming out of that debut, things change because the old saying is with a trainer, the hardest thing to do is when you break your maiden first time out, it's being able to step up into winner's land straight away. So in the case of Straight No Chaser, what's your feeling stepping forward, and how confident are you that he'll be able to make that transition going right into winners?
Yeah, you never know, but I think, man, he showed so much talent right from the beginning, and he's one of the fastest workhorses I've ever had. So I can't see it's going to be a huge issue for him. I mean, since the race, he's acted really fresh. He's come out of that race in good shape. We're going to breeze him on Friday. That'll be his first work back from the race. But, I mean, all signs point to a progression and hopefully improvement from that first run.
You had some nice things to say in the winner's lounge upstairs for the owners that could be here for that win. Can you share those thoughts just one more time for the folks at home that might be owners or My Racehorse owners that are curious and would have loved to enjoy the win on hand?
Sure. Well, I'm honestly, as a trainer, I'm just thankful to have such a talented horse in my barn. I mean, most of it is just natural talent of a horse, and I got to give thanks to Nick Hines and Phil Hager for picking the horse out, and for My Racehorse for giving me the opportunity. But really, I feel like My Racehorse is really is such a big part of the future of horse racing, and getting that exposure out there to new fans, new people, and getting them involved in ownership is such an important part of my future and the future of the game. I'm just really fortunate and feel honored to be part of that. So.
Yeah, I might add, Dan, you've been a blessing for My Racehorse. And, of course, it's all about the experience. We talk about the experiential aspect of the game. And, you know, I was a little kind of left out of the equation. I feel like I'm back, but not being here for the race, you know, being back in studio. It was a humbling, it was just a humbling experience for me. But to see the family, and, of course, that's the type of emotion that we hope to bring out. And, of course, for the partners that came here and involved themselves in the process, we thank you for allowing and opening up your door for that as well, including the barn tours that take place here at Del Mar and up at Santa Anita.
Sure. Well, it's just been a great ride. As I said, I feel really thankful to have the horse in my barn, and hopefully more wins to come.
Dan, thank you for taking some time. We know you're busy, and he's got to take our kids to camp, too, so we're going to turn him loose.
Got to go to camp, so thank you, Dan.
Dan Blacker joining us here from Del Mar. We are going to continue on with Wire to Wire as we have much more to get to. So he mentioned the works. You have to have a horse that's working well moving forward into a race. We have a work of the month to focus in on, and we'll go back to Rosie's Alibi. We've talked about her a few times on the show. Just such a pretty filly. Todd Pletcher has her. She's a daughter of Justify, and Sarge, off what we've seen from the offspring of Justify in the last few weeks, this has to make you very excited for the future.
Well, it certainly does. And one thing you have to keep in mind, she was purchased just a year ago. You know, a high-dollar yearling at the Fasig Tipton Saratoga Select, $625,000. The one thing about Justify, 11 runners thus far, 5 winners, including the Grade 3 winner, Just Cindy, and that in itself kind of speaks volumes. One also aspect that I can appreciate is that the mother in Roses for Deborah, actually Essential Rose, who produced Roses for Deborah, could very well be a perfect 3 for 3. Her sister is already stakes proven, stakes winner.
That was her first turf work, and Todd Pletcher had some nice comments to say afterwards. He said, quote, "This week was much better after her breeze last week. I thought she struggled to find a hold of the dirt coming down the stretch. Today she looked comfortable throughout the breeze, and Adele never had to ask her to do much." Adele, her exercise rider, she was along the inside there. There's a great feature on the website and on the app as well about Adele Bellinger. She's been with Todd Pletcher for a long time. So Rosie's Alibi is in good hands and looks like she's appreciating the turf.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, you know, looking at just pedigree in its own right, when you think Justify, the fact that he didn't make it to the races until he was, a newly turned 3-year-old. And, you know, the fact that these horses have been able to come out firing. We just saw Justique win right here at Del Mar over the weekend for trainer John Sherris and the CRK stable. She was, I believe, a $700,000 plus yearling purchase at Keeneland in September. So big dollar, high dollar purchase, Rosie's Alibi, certainly moving forward. And it's nice to see, and we appreciate trainer Todd Pletcher with his insight and, of course, his, you know, allowing us to kind of get an insider's perspective with this particular young prospect.
For the moment of the month, we'll go back to Always Hopeful. We already had the chance to recap the victory from this one, and it was a long time between races. Mentioned that kind of poor effort over the sloppy track back in November of last year, the 7-month layoff, the return, some time. He had been gelded, but the patience really paid off, and that was very much reflected in this performance. And those speed figures jumped up about 30 points as far as the buyer goes.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, the patience paying it forward. You know, we obviously having Dan Blacker on the set alluding to Straight No Chaser. And, you know, one of the issues that you fall into often in a game like this is instant gratification. You know, you put your money up and you're like, I want to win. I want to win now.
And then you think it's easy. Right?
Exactly.
Right.
But I think in the case of this, you know, again, props to the partners, as we pointed out in the winner's circle, but more importantly, Cherie DeVoe and her team, who has done a wonderful job with the horse that came back as a gelding. You know, a bit high-strung last year, as we recall. His debut was one to be forgotten.
Right.
So coming back, firing like he did, you know, it's one thing you can appreciate about a track like Horseshoe in Indiana. It's a perfect stepping stone. And if you think of that, you look back to the likes of Monomoy Girl. She debuted there when it was once known as Indiana Grand. So I think it's a positive, and I think this horse will only get bigger, better, and stronger moving forward.
We mentioned Deshaun Parker in the saddle, Mr. 6000. He was kind enough to give us some words after the race.
He ran hard, ran fast. I mean, he's really quick. The only thing I was worried about is going so fast I didn't know if he was going to make that turn. But after he straightened up and switched leads, he just took off again. So, nice horse.
Thank you to Deshaun for taking the time. We look forward to hearing from Cherie DeVoe in the future as well, as far as what comes next. From the moment of the month to our stable spotlights, we each have one. I'm going to start first with Frosted Oats. We recapped the victory with her by a head last time out. Louis Saez in the saddle. Big victory back at Belmont Park. You know, Belmont was always really high on her all through last year, even off that debut. She was disappointing in her first start as well. She was 9th by 26 lengths, but he didn't lose faith in her, and it took some time. But I think if you look through her past performances, you can see each and every start she got a little bit better. She picks up that win in June, and now, Sarge, we hope to see her at Saratoga and hopefully continuing that upward trajectory.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, it's one of those where you always look for the setup in that setback. And being a 2019 model, daughter of Frosted, you know, it did take her, you know, again, some rhythm. You look back at her debut, it was on dirt, kind of a throw-out race, if you will. I mean, outside of that, she's never missed a beat. Right. She's never been off the board, but in a partnership with Spendthrift, Frostidos, she, as far as fan favorites and partners and the electricity that comes from that corner, she has quite a bit of a following.
What do you think it is about her? Is she just...
Could be her name.
Okay.
Perhaps it is, but she's a beautiful filly, chestnut, and, you know, she's a little bit animated as well, okay. But at the same time, she kind of exudes herself with a lot of confidence. 1,500 partners, you can imagine what that winner's circle is going to look like coming back. We're able to get there at Saratoga.
Hopefully we get to see her at the spa. From my stable spotlight to yours, Duke of Love, are we heading to the Queen's Plate?
Well, let's just hope. Again, north of the border, Queen's Plate can be classified as, say, the Kentucky Derby in Canada, being a restricted race. Big money on the line, 7 figures. The one thing about the effort here from Duke of Love, I thought was far and away better than looked, and it could take the natural eye to see that this horse encountered plenty of traffic trouble early on in this event. Boy, when he lifted off and switched out, certainly it was picking up some good ground. You go back to the plate trial effort, I think it was much better than look, bottled up, and you know, he's a 2-time winner. You know, you look at his form, you say it's a bit modest, but I think you'll appreciate the added ground. But the one thing about Josie Carroll, she's had to kind of work into this horse's mind a little bit. You know, she's played a little bit with the equipment as far as shadow roll, cutting the blinkers back, adding more blinker. Type of horse that gets a bit rank when he's in open space, needs to be covered up, but it's a timing thing with him because you can see once he's able to get out in open space, he certainly dropped his head and came running. But he'll be a feature and kind of a focus of our lead changes a bit later on in the program.
Let's hear from Josie Carroll about that most recent performance.
You know, Justin knew that the horse got in trouble. He said he didn't even get a chance to show his turn of foot.
What'd you see today that
I am very excited about this horse. This horse relaxed down the backside, which he has never really done. He's usually kind of high-headed. He relaxed nicely. Just nothing opened up for him. You know, he swung him out and he came flying.
And we talked about his struggle with switching leads. All good today?
All good today.
Great.
He's starting to figure it out.
Well, let's see him in the Queen's Plate.
I think this is a horse that deserves to go.
Big words. He deserves to go. Canada's oldest race, the equivalent of the Kentucky Derby, as Sarge said, a mile and a quarter on Tapeta coming up there. So looking forward to what Duke of Love can do. And with that style and with needing to be covered up, you're going to run into some trips like that, right? Where you get stopped, you don't have the opportunity to show your best, and it seems like that's what happened to him last time.
Well, and I think the other point is that you have Justin Stein, who's had ample opportunities to ride different horses, and he stayed the course with Duke of Love. So you have to trust that rider on horseback. I appreciate the fact that this horse is able to match that career best 86 Beyer speed figure. And I think as a thoroughgraph, a Ragozin proponent, you can just see that this is a horse that could be sitting on his best career race ever because he's able to get back to that number. And, he just looks so fluid. I see the development. I'm just hoping that mentally he's willing and able and ready to take that next step.
Spotlight on the Queen's Plate. We look forward to that in his next start. More updates to come from Josie Carroll and her team. Time for the inside scoop of the month, and we're going to talk about a topic that comes up all the time, not only with works in the mornings, with races in the afternoons. We talk about it on TVG all the time in the afternoon. Swapping leads. It can be something that I think is difficult to spot at first, but once you get it, and once you visually can see when horses are swapping leads, it really makes sense, and it's so important to how they are running.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the way that you can put it into perspective is that the ability to swap leads and the need and necessary and the means of is that trying to give you that second win, not to mention the fact that, say, for example, a horse, they will lead laterally, right fore, right hind, left fore, left hind. The key is when they hit the turn, you want them naturally to switch into their left lead and move laterally so that you don't lug out or drift out with centripetal force. You know, when a horse is on the straight, I've always felt that horses are much like people. Some you get that might be left-handed or right-handed, and I've found a lot of turf horses that actually are good turn runners. But here's an AM workout from the recent winner for Edge Racing, National Road, a son of Quality Road. Let's take a look at a workout around the dogs here at Del Mar back on July 31st.
So what we're wanting to see is that leg that is leading forward, right? As he's turning to the left, you can see that inside left front is the leg that is stretching the farthest forward. That's where you're leading. And you want to be turning left with the left front going forward. As you square up to head down the stretch, horses are taught in their trainings in the morning to go ahead and switch back to that fresh leg. You want to get that right leg leaning forward or stretching. There it goes, right before the cone there. You can always rewind if you want to replay this to see that leg switch. And one thing that might be, we don't talk about it as much, I guess, in terms of thoroughbred racing, but we're talking about a flying lead change, not a simple lead change. And when I was a kid and I was riding ponies, sometimes those horses have to come back down to a jog or a trot before they switch to that next lead. These horses are so athletic that it's happening in one stride. It happens so quickly, and sometimes you don't even see it.
No, absolutely. And, as far as the cue on that, riders will shift their weight. Perhaps they'll pick up a cross or maybe just a little tap of the whip to kind of cue that horse to switch leads. Now, if you go back and say, for example, look at the rivalry back in 1977, affirmed in Alibi, you watch each and every race in which they kind of locked horns, which it was too many to mention. But the truth is there were races where Alidar never switched leads, Affirm never switched leads. But I also think it's a matter of being comfortable. Folks will often ask, why doesn't a horse switch leads? Well, it's kind of twofold, or maybe even threefold. I think that there are certain horses that are stronger on a given lead, and they understand the strength and being able to kind of propel and being able to stride out and push off. The other of which are horses that may be a bit green, that haven't necessarily learned, or perhaps they shy and they switch leads. And, of course, the fourth aspect of that could be horses that might be protecting themselves. And it's not necessarily switching into the lead, right, that they're afraid of. It's bouncing off the lead that they're going to, meaning that they don't want to put more pressure on a horse, on a leg that, even a horse coming back from arthroscopic surgery, say a horse had a chip taken out of a knee or an ankle or had a soft tissue injury. The smarter horses, they know how to protect themselves.
Right.
That's why you see those 10-year-olds that have won countless races that continue to just go on and on. But I personally think that lead changes are ultra important, they're ultra key, and for those that handicap, and even for us at the sales, we generally don't like to look at these 2-year-old and training horses when they don't switch leads.
Right.
You're going back looking for a problem. They can be green, but it also can be a habit that you want them to get over.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It bothers me if I'm watching a replace and a horse won't always switch leads,
Right.
because it I might lean towards another horse in that race if they look similar on speed figures and whatnot. The horse that's a little more professional and that is on the correct lead, whether they're turning or going straight. There's some talk about horses in Europe not switching as often. They run on the straightaway quite a bit. They have those undulating courses. I think sometimes in those cases you want horses just to be comfortable and to be traveling as best they can. Let's take a listen and learn a little bit more about that topic.
The 11th race on June 19th saw Carruthers finish 4th after closing off a very, very slow pace. A race which was basically run like a merry-go-round race. Public Information and Timmy M ran 1-2 around the racetrack. They went 25-4, 50-4. Carruthers lost position when he did not break sharply. But another problem Carruthers has been having is changing leads. He's just not handy at it. In Europe, they don't really care that much about what lead a horse runs on as long as the horse is comfortable. In the United States, horses need to race on their left lead around the turn, the right lead in the straightaway. They find more energy. Carruthers ran pretty much the entire race on his left lead. Junior Alvarado tried several times in the stretch to get him to switch to his right or proper lead in the stretch, and he was very stubborn about it. He wound up lugging in behind horses, losing momentum. After losing ground around the turns, he was already out wide. He wound up back towards the inside. With about 70 yards to run, he finally jumped his right lead. He finished with good energy in a paceless race, but until he learns to change leads properly, he's not going to be as effective. He has ability. He showed that. This is something they can work on in the mornings, a lot of repetition, but also I think maybe riding him closer to the inside. Junior was caught out wide. Too much empty space. Sometimes with horses that are reluctant to get to their right lead, you're closer to the inside, closer to the rail. You can kind of shift your weight and they'll step away from the rail onto their right and proper lead and finish with the energy needed to kind of close the deal in races like this. Carruthers has ability, needs to learn how to switch leads.
Thank you so much to Richard Migliore for laying that out for us and explaining it a little bit more. He does such a great job just kind of taking you inside the perspective from a rider.
Oh, absolutely. And the MIG, of course, one of those that he'll give you kind of an eloquent approach and perspective. And as we've come to find, Carruthers, adding the cheek pieces, if you will, came back. And, you got to give props to Kent Sweezy because he was able to kind of work out the wrinkles. And, it's a mental game. Obviously, this horse has improved. All victories have come over the synthetics, and some of that is footing as well because we see a lot of dirt horses that go to synthetic or synthetic to dirt or perhaps even to turf, and they have difficulties finding those lead changes because the one thing about a synthetic racetrack, it doesn't have that natural slide than you would on dirt. So you'll see horses that might fumble a bit in their hindquarters. Interesting, speaking of quarters, to follow the quarter horses and the importance of a lead change. But it's amazing because, as I'd said, there are horses that are just simply stronger on their left versus their right. And going back to what I initially said about a turf horse, they seem to have that left front strength that you like to see with that turn move.
The science of leads. It won't be the last time you hear us talking about it or your trainers out there with regard to all of the horses in the MyRacehorse stable. So we had a chance to begin the show by recapping all of those wins from the last 6-8 weeks or so. We have a lot of upcoming races to look forward to. Let's take a look at the list as of now. And remember, we pencil these in because, as we all know, things change, workouts change, rain comes, rain goes, especially if you're back at the spot. So these are the targets right now for the horses. Here at Del Mar, it should be a very busy weekend. Same at Saratoga. Provocateur should be in action at Monmouth on the 6th. And going to Vegas here at Del Mar on the 13th. Edge will be represented as well over at Churchill Downs.
Oh, absolutely. And I certainly feel that it could be, crossing my fingers and toes, it's going to be a big month of August. And on the year, I think Edge is winning at roughly 23%. My racehorse sticking in at about 20% with 50% in the money. And that is a very good statistic across the board, knowing that we are competing in a number of different jurisdictions. Props going out to racing manager Joe Moran for Edge, and of course our West Coast racing manager here with My Racehorse. And it's been pretty wild since we transitioned down here to Del Mar, but it's been very positive. And a big thank you to Paige Marcinek, our manager in the Midwest. Of course, Harry Rice out there in the East Coast. Nice to see Provocateur on the board coming back in Stakes Company. Looking forward to a big month here in August.
We have a few horses to catch up with for the Aftercare Spotlight this month, and we've actually talked about a few of these in months past. Wayno actually had his first 3-day event competition most recently, so we have some photos from that event and an open beginner novice at Shepherd Ranch. How far has he come? Look at this guy out there 3-day eventing.
Wayno, we had mentioned this on a previous show that, he came in as one of the higher dollar purchases for us. Being a son of Into Mischief, had served up plenty of promise early on in his career. He broke his maiden in his special weight in career start number 3 in a partnership with Spendthrift Racing. The whole point being is that while his career did not get to the point in which we had hoped, and our goal here at My Racehorse, and of course our CEO and founder has hammered this point home numerous times, soft landing. Get them in a place where they can go on and find that career after the racetrack that is going to be beneficial, not only themselves, but making the lives of others happy as well. You see Wayno, quite a bit of a vertical there in that jump move.
Another one is Power Up Paynter, or Pup, as he is affectionately known, in a little bit more serious training these days. 3 to 4 days a week, learning to collect. So that means to kind of gather himself up and sort of frame himself up, round his neck down, working on his leads, working on cross rails, which would be just a very small X down at the ground to learn how to jump. He is, according to Mary and Marilyn, smart, well-mannered, and very easy to work with.
Yeah, he's always been kind of a laid-back individual, and he brought a career that found him winning multiple times, earned in excess of his purchase price, which was nice to see. But again, I think the whole motivation here for these horses is to find a place and point in time where they can evolve. They can evolve their lives. Power Up Paynter, he's young. He's 5 years of age. You look at Wayno, there's so much future for them in life after the racetrack, and very proud to be part of the organization, knowing that our goal is to get them in those particular places. And
I think we've said this before. If you're interested in rehoming any thoroughbred, you can always reach out to your local organizations, to New Vocations. They do a great job. Karma out here on the West Coast. There are horses not just from My Racehorse, but that are all looking for a second home and a second career. So we thank you for joining us once again here on Wire to Wire. We covered a lot of ground. Did we miss anything?
Been great. Spot on as usual, Christina.
Good luck at the races this next month at both the Spa, also at Monmouth, here at Del Mar, the Seaside Oval, Churchill Downs, wherever your horses are running. We wish you the best of luck. We'll see you next month here on Wire to Wire.